if there's other women in your man's phone and he's telling you, oh, they're just crazy, girl, you better run. We have a lot to unpack today. Welcome back to my series where normally I'm getting ready for bed, but I woke up with a ton of anxiety this morning knowing the subject I'm about to talk about. I'm just gonna get it over with so I'm not thinking about it all day. But it's good. When you're uncomfortable, that means you're growing, and I'm uncomfortable right now. And I said I was gonna do it. I said I was gonna make this series. So we're already here. Welcome to part 2 of Hot Mess Express. The events that led to me hitting rock bottom. So my last video, I talked about grief, and that was 2015. So I'm going to be talking about from 2015, after I go back to work, after my dad passed away, up until I have like my son, because then that's a whole new thing. So 2015 to 2019. So I go back to work, freshly single, freshly grieving. And back then I'm like a bartender in a nice, really nice high-end establishment. Like I'm just doing my thing, working, trying to like mask my emotions. And during that time, I call this the beginning stages of the alcoholism. You know, like when you're in your 20s or early drinking and you are just drinking at night, you're partying, and you're sometimes even getting like face, waking up and being perfectly fine. Your bounce back is like bing, on point. I was still working, getting drunk, hanging out with my friends all night, making so much money, and waking up, going to the gym, and still doing what I gotta do. Like, and that is very dangerous. If all that I just described to you sounds like you, like it's like the people that call themselves functioning alcoholics. So they're like, I got it, I can still do this. Be careful. I'm warning you. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, but that will stop. Your body right now and your liver are fresh, right? So you're processing alcohol a lot quicker and a lot easier. But trust me, after a couple years of that, after you get a little bit older, you're gonna start becoming how I became. We'll get into that. And then, a couple years of that, I meet the father of my now child, my narcissistic relationship ex that I've been talking about. He comes into my restaurant, and I've known him, like, friends of friends, and like from like high school. Barely any conversations or anything. Always very handsome, though. Always very, very handsome. But back in high school, just a mess. He walked into my establishment, like I said, it's a very classy place that I worked for like 10 years. He walked in, button up, shirt, dress, outfit, I mean, looking like a whole different person. And I'm like, curious, like, what the hell? Then I'm like, hey, we basically, long story short, we start talking, we go out a couple times, then we start officially dating January 2017. So I want to make this clear. I had a hard time figuring out how I want to talk about this because I don't want to make this like a bashing session. Like, and then he did this, and then he did that. Like, I don't. That's not the point. Because then I'm making it all about him. And I'm riding a very thin line of like trying to tell my truth and tell like what happened and like my story, with also having like respect, even though he doesn't deserve it sometimes, that he's the father of my child and I have to co-parent with him for the next 14 years. So I'm not trying to like go on this rampage and be like that. That's just not my style anyways. Instead, I'm just going to mostly say what happened with my mindset along with how I started drinking more, and then all the red flags. This is the most important. I am going to say all the red flags that I missed instead of actually specific situations between me and my ex, because I feel like that's a very personal thing. I'm just going to say red flags that you need to watch out for. If any of this stuff that I'm saying, you're like, oh, my guy does that. Okay, it's not good. Where do we start? Red flag number 1. So when we started dating, he was basically like, I only want to talk to you, I'm with you, we're exclusive, whatever. And there was this one girl that kept blowing up his phone all the time. Like, who is that? Like, because you see the name, and then you know us girls, or we do the whole, like, we see it. And then I got the whole standard, oh, she's just crazy. She just likes me. That's just an ex. We're just kind of cool and hanging out still. But then you came along, and then now it's with you, and she's mad that we're together. You get that bullshit, right? Like, oh, okay. Like, because you know what they say, you trust someone until they give you a reason not to. I don't really like that statement anymore. Then, we're having the best time. And the reason why he was the choice that I picked, because when I met him, it was like all he wanted to do was like have fun and party and drink. And at that time in my life, after going through the traumatic events, that's all I wanted. He just wants to chill and kick it. He's so funny. And yeah, we have fun. Yada, yada, yada. But then I started kind of liking him. But it was more of like, I liked the feeling of feeling happy again, so I kind of attached myself to him. He was such a good liar. Like, he was such a good manipulator. So that's red flag number 1. If there's a girl in your man's phone and he is telling you that she's just crazy, yada, yada, yada. No, there's something that he is giving her. It's like a seedling. If they're giving them no attention, they're blocking them. They're saying specifically, I don't want you. I am in a relationship, and being very stern with that person and very serious and being like that every day and ignoring them on completely no attention. If they're not giving them anything, that person, even though there are crazy people in this world, that person will stop. I guarantee you that person is going to stop. But if so, like my situation, or I'm sure a lot of your situations, you're like, oh my God, this girl will not go away. It's been months. Honey, I'm sorry to say, your man's giving her something. I'm not saying he's cheating. I'm not saying it's that far. He's either giving her a little flirt here and there. He's answering a message back. Even just simply answering a message back can be like a little glimmer of hope for some of these women. Men know what they're doing, okay? Let's just say that. They know what they're doing. I'm just saying he's giving her something for her to keep holding on. So don't believe the whole she's just crazy, because she might be crazy, but he's also giving her something. And if you ever see your man, this is the worst part. Listen up. If you ever see your man complaining about your relationship to another woman, that is the biggest red flag that I missed too. I just wanted to talk to someone. I was just mad. You're gonna talk about how basically me and you are fighting to someone that likes you? Don't act like you're stupid. You know that she likes you. All she's hearing right now is, so I got a chance. And they know that. And they're like, oh, I just didn't have anyone to talk to. And I just wanted a woman's perspective. All these red flags, I should just pop them all over the screen. Any of that stuff that resonates, that's not good. I missed all those red flags. So I only have basically 10 minutes to talk about each of these subjects. So I'm going to have to split this into like two parts. Basically for the first part, me and him started out a hot mess, fighting constantly. I just grew like an attachment to him, I think, because it was like the first thing I had since my dad passed away. But continued on for years. There was other women in his phone, red flag. That went on for like 4 years. And then we're about to break up and I got pregnant. So thanks for talking with me. I didn't really get that much in it. I hope that your man isn't doing any of the things I talked about. There are so many more red flags. I feel like this series would be forever. If you want more detailed about some stuff, I can do that. But like I said, I only have 10 minutes max to post these things. But I will do a few more red flags that he did do that I was like, why was I so stupid? I'll do that in part 2 tomorrow. So part 2 will be a good continuance of this story. But I will see you later. Have a great day. And that's as good as it's gonna get. Okay. Bye.